Dr. Ramasoota, I will start off with you. What drives news production in the digital ecosystem?
Morning. I prepared some slides, and I think this should be okay. This is what drives news production and actually any kind of content production in the new digital ecosystem. I think, especially in the news sphere, in the journalistic sphere, for that matter, dataification, because when news production or any kind of content production coupled with social media, the overriding economics of digital platform is dataification. That's when the platform are using the data collected on the users, and they use that for economic and sometimes social and political ends. So to answer your question, I think the crux of dataification would be built upon what we call attention economy, because we want to know what people are interested in, what drives their attention. And so, like in Thailand, for example, I've learned this from Nielsen, which is a major media marketing company in Thailand, media research that's been in Thailand and globally for a long time. And an executive at Nielsen was giving me this information that Thailand, Thai broadcasters, unlike in Europe or in other Asian countries, tend to distribute their content via third-party platforms, which is social media. And what this means is that Thai audience are not active or are not very serious about getting news, because it's like they like news to be fed to them, they like information to be fed to them. So it doesn't really matter what brand or the credibility that comes with the branding of the source, the news source. So this fits right into the logic of social media company, because when they know, that people are on this specific social demographics are interested in, they could most accurately predict, what would be interesting to the certain group of people using the data that they collect from the user profiles or the behavior that the users are interacting on the media platforms.
Thank you for that. Clark, maybe if you could just elaborate more on this.
Yep.
And how algorithms, how do you work that in Thailand?
Okay, so first of all, Wisesight is, we are not media company though. We are not news agencies. Wisesight is a data company. We collect data, public data from a lot of sources in social media included in Thailand and also in ASEAN region. So we work a lot with social media platforms. So can you give me 1 second? Can you show me the hand if you are from social media platform? Is any one of you guys come from social media platforms? Can I see your hands? Nope. Okay, fine. That's what I expected. I'm expected. Social media platform, as everyone knows, it drives content by what we call algorithm or AI or whatever you're going to call it, right? And no one, or maybe not any nation's government or regulator is regulating all of these algorithms. So they are fully driven by audience. So audience is the one who drive algorithm of social media. Yep. And algorithm will try to please the audience as much as they work. Yep. But then social media is one thing which is the main function of social media that they're different from traditional media or maybe mass media, that anyone can post anything. Yep. And maybe like bad news is more yummy than fact, right? So we consume a lot of bad news. We consume a lot of rumors, scandals, things like that. And then social media is just one single place where all of this mix up. That's why we say like algorithm is downgrade news, or maybe people stop consuming news, which is fact, something like that, because there's something like mix up, right? Because fake news or rumors may be in your coffee table, but you saw fact in television or maybe newspaper. So that's how algorithm works. So I think I'll wrap up this first. News had to adapt and evolve to work perfectly on social media, and there are a lot of success cases that they can successfully evolve as well. And yep, so we'll go like this first.
If I could just add briefly, I don't think algorithm is driven exclusively by audience. I think it's also designed, and we talked a lot about algorithmic accountability. That is this big black box of AI that nobody could actually participate in. And we still don't know how to actually participate in the process of teaching machine to learn. And I think that's what, when we talk about algorithm, it's all about attention, it's all about engagement, right? And so that's, actually, I'm going to go to the second question to answer that we're pursuing totally different ideals. When it comes to news, you have to report the truth. You have to nourish citizens, into participation, into democratic participation. But what algorithm cares about is engagement. Just the number of people who click, the numbers of people who interact, and that's because it's taught. Because AI and machine is taught and learned just to do that exclusively. There's no value or ethics being embedded in the teaching of AI to nurture a good society. Sorry.
Thank you. Emilio, you have a helicopter view of what your members across Europe are doing. Is there concern that reliance on social media platforms may leave them empty-handed because of the changing algorithms?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, just to pick up on what you just said, we're talking about, and we heard from Omar Farouk earlier from our member TRT from the EBU, there are two very different interests here trying to play together, hence the title Social Media Tango, if I can go back to that. And I've been giving that a great deal of thought, and I happen to be from a culture that really loves a good dance, Cuban culture, and I can tell you that this is not an easy dance at all. We're talking about, as you very well said, the news side of it, especially public service media, on one hand, wanting very specific things and wanting to get that information out to its audience or draw in new audiences. And on the other side, you have these tech companies that have ballooned, that are now huge corporations with massive budgets and a very different culture. Their culture is, first of all, American to a great extent. That is to say, in America, the dollar, the money talks first. So you're talking about a culture that is driven in one direction, and here we come from public media, especially saying, we have all these wonderful values and we want you to play ball with us or dance with us. So the challenges have been there from the beginning. As you said, I did work at the very beginning on the BBC's breaking news platform, on the Twitter platform, are the big accounts that we launched. And of course, that was an exciting time. We're talking back to 2010. The relationship is very different now. We know about the arguments going on between the big tech companies in Australia with the government there that is trying to rein them in. We know about, the difficulties that many of our members have had. We heard about TRT's issues and the fact that they're trying to move into an app, as we heard this morning, to have more control. And we've had members of ours that have had huge issues. Rai, our Italian member, has had issues where their label, their logo has been used illegally, basically, for advertising. And they've had very little response or very little help solving these issues from Facebook, Meta, and companies like it. So for me, I'm approaching it from a different perspective, I think, in that sense.
Kati, maybe you can tell us more about France TV's social media strategy, and have you seen news being downgraded in social media algorithms too?
Yeah, I think we all went through this journey. At the beginning, we were in this kind of hyper-distribution strategy on social media, and I remember, well, 10 years ago, we were invited to Facebook headquarters in order to give our content to Facebook because they really needed us. They needed our quality content. And then everybody got a smartphone, and so everybody can be a media, and Facebook did not need us anymore. And they changed totally their algorithm and did not push news forward anymore. Instead of that, you have fake news circulating 6 times faster than the real news. And that made us change strategy totally. And we are now trying to transform our own platforms in order to be as engaging as social media. And we have different strategies ongoing and parallel, especially around gamification, around engagement, around storytelling. But still, there are some generations, we as public service media, we need to engage every generation. And so the older generations are still in front of the TV set. So we still have this Web 0 ongoing. Then you have Web 1 with our own platforms, Web 2 with the social media. And we need to address all those people. And now they are also the younger ones on gaming platforms. So we have sort of different strategies ongoing and parallel, and in order to still address the whole population in France.
Thank you. Now I'll put this question across to all of you, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Some heads of news may only see the downside of social media influences. Do you think that they can serve an important role in promoting awareness about verified information? Dr. Ramasoota, would you like to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, I think good, reliable journalistic news media should be able to negotiate for prominence in third-party platforms. I mean, and if possible, if algorithm, could be taught to differentiate between more trustworthy news sources that appear on third-party platforms, YouTube, Facebook, or even Google. I think that should really help, but I don't think the news media could do that alone. Governments, civil society organizations internationally would have to come together to help rebuild trust into the digital ecosystem.
Emilio.
First, I just wanted to also add from my previous comments. I think obviously we need to engage. We need to be there in that landscape, in that area. You can't ignore it. Most of us are there all day anyway, whether we like to admit it or not, with these things. So, we have to find a way to work through it. I'm not saying that the tech companies are completely, unreceptive. But if you look at, for example, what happened on Saturday evening in the US when that gunman fired at former President Trump, Elon Musk came out shortly after on X, formerly known as Twitter, and he said citizen journalism had been spectacular now, and celebrating how well the citizen journalists in his view, had performed. But if you actually scrolled through what people had said on Twitter, it didn't feel like citizen journalists necessarily did so well, because citizen journalists, if we want to call them that, were just people on Twitter expressing opinions, and very, very, very strong ones on either side of what happened to Donald Trump. Therefore, and yet at the same time, we need those citizen journalists when they're out filming at the scene of that incident. We need to engage with them to get some of that footage and share that footage with our members. So I think go back to the idea that, especially X, where they got rid of the verification system that used to give you, as a journalist, knowledge that the person with the blue tick was somebody that you could actually count on. Now, if you have the money, you can open, there's even, one of the earliest ones was @Jesus, you know, if you could become Jesus effectively. For the right price. So I think we're in a, it's become more increasingly challenging, but there is a need to continue the dialogue.
Thank you, Carl.
Yep. I think I would like to support Dr. Pirongrong as well, that news agencies and also journalism need to collaborating each other and support each other. And that would drive what we call algorithm to understand that as well. Because they say, if, for example, like you guys already know about SEO, about how you get your link getting searched at the top of Google, right? So there are algorithm of it about how you can get that page up in search. So there are some kind of work, some kind of framework as well. And that framework has to be dynamic, updated all the time. Social media works probably on the same concept. So if you link up together and support each other, so the trustworthy guys support another trustworthy guys, another, when you support another new guy, this guy is going to gain trust, because everything the social media sees is the data linkage. So if you provide the link to be strong enough, they will see like, okay, because I mean, all social media knows what BBC is, how trustworthy BBC is, how trustworthy is France TV and also other news company. But when you linkage each other, the connection of the news will be stronger. And add to Emilio as well, right now there are not just US dollars news platform or social media platform. Right now there's Chinese social media platform called TikTok. Yes. Yep. Sadly, they speak the same way. Yuan first, talking in Yunmingpi first. So, but they come in different algorithms as well, because if you're on Facebook, you need to be friend, and then you see your friends post. Otherwise, you're getting bombarded by ads. TikTok come with different belief. You don't need to know who is posting what. Yep. You just need to know like repeated content, something like that. And algorithm is changing all the time as well. Related, not unregulated, because nobody can regulate it. That algorithm as well. And then, yep, we all need to learn and dance. It's going to be a difficult dance, because you need to dance like 24/7. Yep. The American way, the Chinese way.
And you need two to dance.
Yep. And we don't know what is going to be next in the next 2 years. Is there any other dances in other concept? But right now, we all need to dance.
It's just, in order to be two to dance, I think if you cannot dance with the GAFAM, we can still dance with the influencers, and that's what we are doing in France TV. I think it's all about media literacy, and it's also media literacy. We need to make journalists understand how it works on social media, how you can be more engaging, more influence. And you mentioned Media, our trend blog, and we did our last trend book was all about the role journalists versus influencers, and we mentioned the latest digital news report, which told us that younger generations follow influencers and know more our brands. So what we are doing at France TV, we bring the influencers inside France TV and working with the newsrooms and with our departments in order to create engaging content and to understand. And there's also a very interesting project I've seen lately from the UNESCO. They also are bringing journalists and influencers around the table in order to help influencers to be more trustful and to have more journalistic reflections, and in order to help journalists to be more engaging and go from this very vertical relationship we had today and we have still today to a more horizontal relationship in order to understand what audiences need. And I really like this idea of journalists being more marketers.
Dr. Ramasoota, what drives, what are some of the challenges you think our journalistic media rather, in coupling with social media?
Okay, I'll need the help of the slides. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, they're pursuing news journalistic media, are pursuing a certain ideal, whereas here. Well, I think when we talk about journalism, that's probably the concept of 20th century. Of course, and social media is the 21st century, and clearly, you know, they are pursuing totally different ideals. Journalism was born in the century where, you know, there is such a thing as universal truth. You know, there is one set of truth, and that's shall emancipate mankind, or whatever. But in the 21st century, nobody cares about the truth. There could be different sets of the truth, and it matters more how stories are being told, and how you could engage as many audiences as possible. As Kun Glass was saying, you know, everything is being downgraded, and it's like we're fighting a losing battle. You know, putting news on social media, it's already a losing battle because the economics of platform, the economics of the platform that dictates content production is just to spread engagement in whatever form as much as possible, and nobody really cares about. You know, the ideal, like, you know, you have to be independent from the people you cover. What social media is concerned about is how to control the behavior, how to predict, you know, who the platform could reach or the clients that the platform are serving could reach. So like I said, you know, we have to sort of subvert it in a way. How, if we're dealing with AIs, we're dealing with machine learning, then we have to teach them to label trustworthy news sources, and then redirect that, you know, redirect them. Like, for example, like in Thailand, if we think that Thai PBS is a trustworthy of news and information, then Thai PBS should have a bargaining power, you know, but by itself it probably couldn't. But with the backup of, you know, other sectors in society through some civic collaboration, they could have a prominence on certain social media platform or app, you know, as opposed to others. And then, you know, like what we're doing at the NBTC, we are developing this, we call it the social credit system. So the social credit system will collect information on different sources of information, usually from our licensees. And then we use AI as well as human subjects to do content analysis, and then we rank them according to the credit, social credit that is, and there will be different categories of information, news, drama series, and whatnot. And then the ones that get more social credit, you know, would likely get a certification from, if this project goes through, it will get a certification as quality content accreditation, that kind of thing, from the NBTC. And if we are already in talk with manufacturers of TV, in the future, we are thinking of introducing this digital platform, national digital platform. So only those who get this certification will be figure on the manufacturer app in the future, because we're thinking that in the future we can't deny it, everything will probably migrate online. So once that migrate online, once TV will become available primarily on broadband, then the manufacturer of TV will, who serve Thailand, will have to also take heed of this accreditation system that we are introducing.
I was just going to say briefly that I think there are lots of, in that slide, there are lots of details that we were hearing earlier about the need to know your audience and the need to hear from the audience and step out of ivory towers of editors gathering. And I think what you've displayed there is really the positive side of it. We on this side, on the journalism side, need to learn more about that, how to connect with audiences, how to really make the stories engaging. That's so critical. So, it's not all gloom and doom. I'm getting more and more hopeful as we go along. I feel like I started in a kind of like very negative tone. And, the more I think about it, there is, with the right ability to figure out a way forward, there's a great deal for us to learn. Most of us here being from public service media, there's a great deal for us to learn from the way they operate on that side.
Maybe finally, if I could just ask you on your advice to media outlets out there and how we can keep up with social media trends and the evolving way of social media.
Well, I guess we don't give up. We don't say, oh, they're so big, we don't know what to do to deal with them. We've had these encounters in meetings with some of the big tech companies where you do approach it like, as big as we may be, a European Union of broadcasters, we become quite small all of a sudden in their room. So, approach it in a way that you do have something to bring to the table. And then you're able to actually negotiate. Don't undervalue. I think in public media in general, we come from a kind of idea of let's not oversay things, let's not oversell ourselves. Let's be kind of, let our story or our news tell its own story. I think we need to learn from them about, believing that what we have to offer them as well is valuable.
Kati, would you like to add on to this?
The advantage of digital is also that we can learn more about how the audience is working, how they are engaging. We know them a little bit better, and so that can help us to create this relevance we are all looking for. We are now calling it resonance at France TV, but we are all looking for this in order to understand what the audience is looking for, and we really need to adapt to this.
So I think from my view, I think if we can separate news into two things, the first thing is information. Information is universal, truth is universal. Content is related to the audience. Yep. I can give you some example about myself a little bit. Today, I have difficulties to explain about why I cannot take my 7-year-old daughter to Laos because of their economic crisis. Is there any news for children to explain economic crisis in Laos? No news. The truth is there. So I spent like hours try to explain her about regarding GDP, gold reserve, and blah, blah, blah thing, because we just canceled the trip to Laos because of their economic crisis and like that. And then kids, they don't know, but they can access to YouTube. They can access to, even though in a limited time. And then I encourage them to do a research about what happened in Laos. And then they said, Dad, I'm totally blank. I don't know what they say in the news. The truth is there. But if you guys can do something like this and divert your information into the content that's specific to audience, that will help a lot. And social media will 1,000 times emphasize or amplify that kind of content spread out the world. So that's maybe one thing that we can do. And then data is driven. But anyway, so it's, you guys, the world still needs journalists to create information, which is the fact, which is the truth, and also universal. But how to make content can incorporate with social media and gain more audience, and that's the challenge that I think we can put on the table.
Thank you very much, panelists. Unfortunately, time has caught up with us, but I thank you for sharing your insights on the dynamics of the intersection of social media technology. With that being said, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.